Guitar Stuff with John!
This is a Boucher, built by Robin Boucher in Quebec by himself and a very small team of trained luthiers. They build these guitars in a tiny shop in a tiny little village named Boucher. And they are, without a doubt, each one a masterclass in guitar building. And Robin, in my opinion, is one of the best guitar builders on the planet right now. Why am I telling you this? Well, it has to do with the title of this video, the 20% rule, the law of 20%. Why do we buy a guitar from a guy like Robin, or Collings, or Bourgeois, Husson, Dalton, Thompson, Gallagher? There's a plethora of what they call boutique guitar builders, right? Well, there's a reason why. Because we know when we buy a guitar from a company like that, where the man's name who's on this headstock, whoever's name's on that headstock, he's in the shop building the guitars with his workers. That's the difference. That's why we buy guitars like this. And I've bought 8 of Robin's guitars. So, why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the law of 20% doesn't apply to boutique guitar builders. Now, you might be asking yourself, what's the law of 20%? Well, it's pretty simple. If we look at the other companies, the biggest ones in the world, Martin, Taylor, Gibson, even Larrivee, Fender, Gretsch, Breedlove, all these companies all started out just like Robin, with 6 to 10 people in a shop building the best guitars that anyone had ever seen. Martin invented the Dreadnought. Gibson invented the Slope Shoulder D, or the Southern Jumbo as they called it. On and on it goes. Innovation after innovation done by the man who owned the company and a few workers. And they started out putting out 200, 300, 400 guitars a year. Okay, that's great. We all know that. What we don't realize is, as the expansion of guitar happened in the 60s, and the folk boom, and people everywhere wanting to learn how to play the guitar, and or play it better, or have a better guitar, or whatever, or just wanted to buy a guitar that one of their heroes used, these companies like Martin and Gibson, they couldn't keep up with the demand. So they factoryized their workshops. They turned their workshops into massive assembly lines. Some went overseas to do so. Even today, most of these companies have assembly plants in China, Mexico, Korea, you name it. They outsource it because the labor's cheaper and they need thousands of guitars right now. That's the deal. So, unfortunately, what that means is that they can't produce 100% of the quality that they could produce when they were making these guitars at the level before they started becoming factories. So there's a law of 20%, and it's across the board. I don't care what company it is. If you line up 100 Martins, 20 of them are not going to be worth a pinch of salt. It's the law of averages, and they can't help it. And I mean, it can be said that a bad Martin is better than a good whatever guitar, right? Which could be true as well. But they don't lower the price tag when they put out a bad guitar. They do go through quality control, but we all know that you can't buy any off-the-rack guitar from any major builder. Sight unseen, it would be foolish. Music and guitar playing is too subjective to put your faith in mail order, right? Unless you're buying from a builder like this guy. It's just the way it is. I would buy one of these guitars sight unseen. I would buy a Collings or a Bourgeois or a whatever. I know that the quality control is in the hands of this man on the headstock. And when that ceases to be, well, then things get sketchy. So I say all of this to make people realize, that there is a law of 20% and is across every company. And you should always go and pick your guitars out by hand with your own eyes and your own ears. And I'm going to give you a good example of this. Another thing I should mention too is because Martin and Taylor and Gibson are everywhere, right? There's so many of the guitars that it's almost hard to pick out the bad ones because there's thousands of them. You go into any music store, there's 20 Martins, 15 Gibsons, 20 Taylors. You can hardly get through them all before you pick one that you like, because I'm sure that there'll be one that's there that's really good and worth the cash, and you'll buy it, right? That's the way it works. But you may go through that pile of guitars and find a bunch of duds. The law of 20%. It's inevitable. So something recently happened, and I want to point it out because of all the things that I'm going to do on this channel. One of them is not going to be lying to you. So I stand behind everything I say about everything, and I will, no matter what. You put me up against the devil himself, I'm still going to say exactly what I'm saying to you now in front of him. I don't care. I recently received my first bad recording king. And I'm not surprised because I have 5 of them, right? The law of 20%. 1 out of 5. It didn't necessarily have to be the 5th one. It could have been 7 or 8 in, but it happens. And I'm going to give you an example of this right now. So the first guitar you saw me with of theirs was the RO328. It's actually the RD328, you dick, which is the Martin herringbone full dreadnought 28 style guitar. Beautiful guitar. About $1,000, $1,300, whatever you find it for on the street. Great guitar. It is what it is. It's a factory-made Chinese guitar. It looks good. It sounds good. It plays good. And I suspect I'm going to keep mine. I fully suspect that it's going to do great, right? And then the next one I found was this one. The RO328. This thing is gorgeous. It's a beautiful little guitar. There's nothing wrong with it. You can look it over. It has matching flaws in the grain, so it's like a book match piece of Adirondack, I think, on this. And you look around the body. It's all good. It's all good. The guitar is well made. It sounds great. It's around $1,000. Beautiful, right? No problem. Number 2. Then I found this one. The Dirty 30s Parlor 7, right? You guys saw me set this one up. I did a saddle adjustment, and that's all it needed. thing is wicked. It just sounds so old and so funky and true. It's a real roots guitar, right? I'm telling you. And it's built like a brick shithouse. There's nothing wrong with this thing. It was $200 and some. 200 and I think 265 or something like that. Ridiculous. If you want a really cool guitar to practice on or play outside or use in the studio for some different thing, beautiful, right? Then I found this one, the Liberty 33 limited edition. Genuine mother of toilet seat fretboard, according to Recording King. A pickguard I put on myself, which is optional, of course. And I found this on Reverb, of all places, in a shop in Missouri. And I paid $285 for this guitar. And it is a smoking little unit. Just a huge sound for a little laminate guitar, you know. Gets so many uses. Studio, live. Be no problem to plug this in my amp and go. Like, it's just that kind of a guitar. Beautiful, right? $285. Expectations are low, right? When you pay that much money for a guitar. Recording King somehow deliver for that little bit of money, right? But then this happened. The ROT16. Now, I was excited about this guitar because it's a unique guitar. It has a torrefied top, which is abnormal on an instrument of this price, around $800 or $900. It has a beautiful laminate back and side mahogany. I mean, look at that wood. It's gorgeous. It's really done, well done. But look, there was a number of problems. So don't get me wrong. I love Recording King. Still love you guys. I'm just pointing this out because people need to know this. The law of 20% sticks out a lot more when there's less guitars being produced. But even with that, Recording King is pushing out thousands of guitars out of a single shop in China. So these things happen. There's a piece of sawdust underneath the finish right here. When I opened the case, it was in the shroud from the factory. And it was full of wood chips, mahogany, rosewood, just sawdust. I had to blow it off the guitar. This was on a video for my members, so they saw me unbox this guitar. The fingerboard tail right here, the side of this right here, they stopped the finish right there. This isn't even the same color. They didn't bother finishing the side of the tail here. There's a few other blemishes on it that are rather abnormal, that are basically from finishing the guitar in an uncontrolled environment where there's dust and chips and everything flying around. The saddle was cut way too high, and then when I adjusted the saddle, lowered the entire saddle down, come to find out that the top of the saddle is actually cut incorrectly. So while I could get the action right here at the 12th fret under this string, it's much too low here, which is also exacerbated by the fact that there's a problem in the neck here with either frets or a hump. So, and the guitar, I hate to say this, it does not sound good. It sounds really bad. It's not up to par for the other Recording Kings I've seen. Like, there's just no clearance there. The saddle is just not crowned right. So I was disappointed. Because I was excited to see the model. But am I going to quit playing Recording Kings? No, because I know that no matter what builder I choose, 20% of them are the same as this guitar. And they really are. You think about it. If you went into a store to buy a Taylor, Would you pick the first one you come to? Absolutely not. And it doesn't matter about the price. You'd have to go through all those guitars to make sure you were getting what you wanted to spend your money on. And you'd have a clear preference, and you would listen to some of them and go, that's not very good. And you'd move on to the next guitar. It's the law of 20%. And it happens across every company. So don't be afraid of Recording King. I'm still going to keep these ones I have, and I'll probably get more because they're cheap and I like them. But they shit the bed on this one. I'm sorry, but they did. One thing I can tell you, too, that I know is that Recording King is incredibly fast to fix problems for dealers and for customers. So dealers, they're watching, and like I said, it's not the only company this happens with. So, back to square one, right? How do you get a guitar that you know is going to melt your face? You go to a guy like this. This is where you go. Or you go to Collings, or you go to Bourgeois, or Gallagher, or Thompson, or Husson Dalton. Or, like, I'm missing, Larrivee even still has a custom shop, a real custom shop, even though most of their guitars now are made in a factory in California. John still builds guitars, as far as I know. And his custom shop still operates. And on top of that, these big companies still operate their custom shops, right? It's really ironic, right? Because the Martin custom shop is the place where the original Martins were built, the way they built them 100 years ago. That's what a custom shop is. It's the place where the guitars started out being built before the factories came in. And so if you want a custom Taylor or a custom Gibson or a custom Martin, those people are going to build you the best guitar you've ever seen, because they're building it the old way. No machinery, no CNC machines, no bullshit. They're putting a guitar together by hand, and every one of them is capable of doing it. And so if you want a guitar that you know for certain fact you can buy sight unseen, that's going to last you the rest of your life and totally tear your face off, this is always the way to go. If not, you got to be a smart consumer. Don't buy anything sight unseen. Go see it no matter what it is. And guaranteed, because 80% of them are fantastic, you're going to find a great guitar from any builder that's on the wall. So there's my advice, and I know Recording King has more. They had a bad day. Well, it's not even them. It's the factory over there that didn't look what they were doing. And I know that. So I'm not blaming them for it. I'm going to keep this guitar. I don't know. I'll keep it. It's fine by me. And also, I have a banjo coming from them, which by all accounts, they are making some of the best banjos in the world right now, especially at the price point. So I'm seeing all kinds of seriously heavy American players just raving about these things, and there's one coming to me, and I can't wait to get it, and I'm sure that it's going to knock my socks off. And so I just want, in the interest of being fair to everyone involved, you got to stick Robin in there. In the interest of being fair and honest. Honesty is everything. And you guys are supporting me in a million different ways right now. And I would never steer you wrong. So there you go. There's the nuts and bolts of her, and let the chips fall where they may. But like I said, don't be afraid of Recording King any more than you would be any other company, because the law of 20%. It's a real thing. Believe me. Check it out for yourself if you don't. All right. I love you guys. And we'll see you next time on Guitar Stuff with John.